law enforcement.
You know, switching gears a little bit, I was just thinking as you were speaking about community policing that you came from Detroit.
Right.
And the police department down there has had to deal also with a high crime area. Where, they were just considered number one for, I guess, larger cities for violent crime.
We had a joke, anytime somebody edged us out of number one, we always demanded a recount.
Did you? Yeah, yeah. Well, what would be the difference in the two communities as you've seen it, or isn't there really much of a difference?
Well, it's pretty much the same thing on a bigger scale.
Same types of crimes.
Same problems.
Same struggles.
Same struggles. High unemployment rate. High rate of unemployability. Lack of jobs, lack of available alternatives.
Same social issues.
Absolutely the same social issues. And
is it the same crime structure too then?
Pretty much. There is a whole matrix of street gangs down there. There's a huge gang squad that's a part of the Detroit Police Department. When I left, it was almost 100 people. There's a violent crime section that I was the commanding officer of for a while. Mm-hmm. It's an environment like pretty much any other big city, and Saginaw has been described as a small town with big city problems. So it's like a little microcosm of what goes on in a city like Detroit or Philadelphia or Chicago.
You helped, thank you by the way, us with looking at a gang bill, a couple of gang bills. And you've given me some ideas for some other things that we're working on. Let's talk for a moment about those, if you might.
Sure.
What were we looking for? And what's the goal of gang bills as they come forward in the legislature? And what could we be doing, and what, well, do we need to do?
Well, if we could significantly impact the attractiveness of gang membership, and we could deplete the manpower of the gang and the attractiveness of the gang to our youth, I think we could make a significant impact on the violent crime in any community. Gangs are places that kids go when the family structure just doesn't exist, when they need a support structure, peers to accept them or what have you, or when they're so intimidated by the violence around them that they see the gang as the only source of refuge from being victimized.
Becomes their family, I suppose. Huh?
Well, because the unfortunate reality is in some cities you're either a part of the gang or you're a victim. It's really an unfortunate reality. There are an awful lot of people out there that I believe they're in gangs only as a means of self-preservation.
As you, I had heard that, and that's sad. We have a bill that we put through to make it punishable to try and prevent somebody from resigning from a gang.
To recruit.
And to recruit. That was one of the things I was working on, and I was glad to see it pass. And your heart goes out to these kids who are there only as a means of surviving from day to day. That's really sad. In looking at things that we're hoping to pass yet this year, you had mentioned earlier some of the things about recidivism. I'm concerned about folks that are getting out of prison now, and the high recidivism rate, in particular for some segments of offenders. Sexual predators, I've got a couple of bills we're looking at for them. Are they in particular a higher recidivizing group of folks, or is there some other group that you think I ought to be focusing on more?
Well, let me tell you what I was told 2 weeks ago when I was at Chief Executive Training at the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children in Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
The statement was made by an instructor that child predators are not curable. They will always be child predators. There's nothing you can do to change their propensity to be attracted sexually to young children. Consequently, the only thing we can do is closely monitor, prosecute, control to the best of our ability to keep our children safe. That surprised me, because everything I'd ever heard from the corrections field was that, they felt that there was treatments available. To be perfectly honest, I think that the sex offender registry is one of the best tools law enforcement has. Unfortunately, I don't think that it's closely or rigidly enough monitored. Like I said, I don't claim to be an expert in corrections. I have often made the comment, much to people's consternation, that any organization that has a 69% failure rate, if it were private entity, would probably be out of business in their first year. Something's not working, and I've never seen anything in all my studies to indicate that 30% of the prison population wouldn't not recidivate naturally because they don't like being in prison. So I have to wonder, what is it that we're all of a sudden doing that makes the Corrections Department secure in releasing 8,000 to 10,000 convicted felons on our population in the state of Michigan?
You know, I serve on that committee, at least at the appropriations level. I'm very concerned about it. Chief, we're coming up towards the end of the segment here. Could you give us a couple of words about, we're looking at a bill for, if you seize weapons and they're in your lock box, allowing you to be able to sell them to folks that would, well, pay you something for it, and you could get some money into the police department. What's that all about?
We have thousands of guns in our possession at the Saginaw Police Department that have been taken off the street. They're not being used in a prosecution.
Yeah.
They're not registered, and they're not traceable because somebody, either sold it out the back door, dropped, handed it down to their son. It got stolen somewhere along the way, used in a crime, and we seized it. One of the things that we've proposed right now, the process is we load those into a truck, bring them to Lansing, turn them over to the state police, and they're turned into paper clips.
I mean, they're destroyed?
They're destroyed.
Okay.
They're melted down for scrap metal. Takes the guns out of the system. To us, that's a waste. I feel that we could put those guns back in a trackable system by selling them to licensed firearms dealers.
So they become legitimate weapons?
They go back into a traceable system so that we could then keep track of who's got them. Mm-hmm. The federal government would be thrilled with that. Some anti-gun control people might not like it, but it would also provide police departments that are as economically challenged as Saginaw with another source of revenue. If I could peddle all of my saleable guns to a licensed dealer, an FFL dealer, I could probably replenish half my police car fleet without ever having to touch the general fund. And that's a conservative estimate. So I think it's a source of revenue that we're being prohibited from using by an antiquated system that requires us to deliver them to Lansing to be destroyed. The other problem that I see with it is, to be perfectly honest, there are some antiques out there, part of our national heritage, that under the current laws would have to be destroyed. And it's a shame. It's a real shame. We probably got 3 or 4 guns with tags on them to be destroyed right now that we're taking our time delivering, because to a collector they'd be worth anywhere from $6,000 to $12,000 a piece.
Wow.
Now that's half a police car.
Yeah.
They're tagged. They're available, but we're hoping this law passes to make it possible for us to deliver them to an FFL dealer, put them back into the retail system, enhance their business, generate revenue for the city, give us desperately needed funding for running a police department.
Well, I'm working on it. And on that note, thank you very much, Chief Gerald Cliff, for coming here to be on Capitol Report, and look forward to seeing you out and about in our community.
So we're going to do my job.